So this morning I'm going to be making banana cake. I've got my self-raising flour, my margarine. It's dairy free because I got a child with milk allergies. I got my sugar. I use brown, but it's always best to use white, but I don't like the process it goes through. I've got my eggs, and the star of the show, of course, is the bananas. I ended up buying a bad bunch. It was just really squashed and I didn't realize. So I allowed it to ripen more to not waste the bananas and make a cake out of it because I don't like to waste food. So right now I'm just going to be peeling them, breaking them up into small pieces to mash with a fork. As you can see, it is really ripe, these bananas. It's almost, I can't really eat it at this stage because it gets really sweet to the point it's kind of sickly for me. But I know my girl Itisha, she eats very sweet bananas. So I'm just cutting this bit out because it's a bit too gross looking, and that needs to go as well. So there I am, breaking it up into pieces. I'm going to get my fork and mash it all up. Now, if I had a blender, I'll be blending this up to get 0 lumps. But I don't have a blender. And if I'm honest, even if I did have a blender, I can't be bothered with all that washing up. So I'll just be using my fork. But if you've got a blender and you don't mind the washing up, please use it. So at least you know you will get 0 lumps. And if you choose to mash it like me, try your best to get 0 lumps, because if you get lumps in there, when you actually bake your cake, you might get lumps of banana, and we don't really want that. You know, we don't want a stodgy, lumpy banana cake. No. We want it to be nice and soft and fluffy. So when I've done that, I get my bowl and my sieve and I start sieving the flour. Now, when I was at school, they taught us how to make a basic sponge, and they said use equal amounts of flour, margarine, and sugar with 2 eggs. But in relation to the banana cake, it's a bit confusing because I used a lot more flour because I had a lot more bananas. So I use a lot more flour, guys, and I don't do measurements anyway, so there's no way I used as much margarine either. I don't really know what the margarine really does for the cake, but I don't use as much as recommended for a basic sponge. And even with the sugar, again, my bananas are going to be sickly sweet, so I just used a little bit of sugar, even though that looks like a lot. But I don't like things too sweet, so that will be a very subjective thing for you guys to figure out what you like. What I also do is, I know it's a bit gross because it's raw egg, people, but I do put a little tiny bit to taste on my tongue, just for sweetness, and the amount of sugar I used was good to go because, again, my bananas are very sweet. So I'm just mixing this up, and because I use a lot of flour, I ended up kneading it a bit because my arms were killing me, and that just goes to show how much flour I used, and that's how, see, that's how my mixture came out. But the reason why I did that is because, obviously, look what I'm adding. I'm adding lots of soggy banana. So it's going to now turn into a nice consistency that you're going to want for a sponge cake or a cake in general. So once I've all scraped that up, I'm mixing it up. Now, as a general rule, if you want a good cake, I was about to use profanity, but I'm not going to do that. Beat it. Beat. Get your man to beat it for you. Just keep stirring it up, people. Whoever you live with, ask your grandma, ask your auntie, or your mum, your dad. Get them to just pass it round, pass that bowl around, and get everyone to beat it, because the more you beat your cake mixture, the better it would rise. And I just have learned that through experience because I like to get in the kitchen and out. So when it comes to that, just do it as much as possible, even if your arms are killing you. So I chose to use this dish because I don't have any cake tins or whatever. And because it's quite a big bowl of cake mixture that I've got, I decided to just use a big glass dish. And I'm now kind of greasing it up, making sure I don't miss any patches, because the whole reason to greasing your dish is for it not to stick when it's baked. And I'm also doing up the sides as well, because obviously when the cake rises, you don't want the side bits to stick either. So seriously, grease it up. Use grease proof paper if you got that as well. I don't have, so this seems to just work for me. Now that's the consistency you're aiming for. And I'm gonna seriously scrape that bowl, but I didn't put that in the video because you lot are going to think, all right, you've scraped it enough. So I just cut that bit out. Waste not, want not. That's how I do. So it's ready to go in the oven. I forgot to mention, I preheated the oven a long time ago before I even started this on a gas mark 6. I put it in for 20 minutes and then I tested it to see how it was doing with a toothpick, which I'll show you soon. And it was kind of burning at the top. You can see that now, but it was still uncooked in the middle. So I lowered it down to gas mark 4 and cooked it for a further 15 minutes. So in total, this cake took 35 minutes in total to bake. So my toothpick is showing me that it's nice and dry and a bit of crumbs fell out too. Whereas before it was still wiping on my fingers, the raw mixtures. So this cake is cooked and I'm just waiting for it to cool down so I can eat it. But you can eat it hot if you wish. And there's my little Ethan in the background, just eagerly waiting for his banana cake. That's all he kept going on and on in that morning. And I'm cutting it up now. I'm just going to cut a piece out, a big chunk out, just to show you how it turned out. But I wouldn't normally cut it up in a big chunk like this. Let me just eat this bit. That just fell off. But yeah, this cake tasted amazing. I got it spot on, if I should say so myself. This cake did not even last 2 days. This is how it turned out. It was very light and fluffy and just the way I like it. But personally, I don't cut a big chunk out like this and eat. I like to cut it up in nice thin slices, like thinner than a medium-sized cut bread. And I hope you enjoyed this.